Trump train diver slapped with felony charge after using his tires to deface Pride mural. I was staying at a hotel in Delray when the gang of Trump trucks rolled through town. They were blasting train horns, screaming at people and generally causing a ruckus. I called non-emergency police but they didn't do anything. They terrorized the town for a solid 2 hours revving engines, and the fucking train horn. Glad this idiot is getting punished, even if he had to turn himself in. You are not grasping the depth that Trump's cult has infested right-wing society and the church community. They have disgraced and abandoned Mike Pence, because Pence did not commit treason. Pence is the ultimate symbol of biased, small-minded, not so secretly fascist evangelicals, who treat the kind written words of Christ as a joke. Yet he is out. Biden is the first openly committed Catholic, priests and punch every Sunday his whole life, since Kennedy. Yet, U.S. bishops scorn him and condemn in favor of who, you ask? An incredible believer of God. No, in favor of the most openly reprehensible sack of criminal carcinogenic rabies ever to have been seen in public. Makes no sense. It does. If you realize what the GOP and the church that follows it has become. It's terrible. A literal travesty. I used to live in Delray Beach. This act of hatred and idiocy is peanuts compared to what we saw. We were standing in line to see President Obama speak with our 2 very young sons, and a couple of guys decided they need to pull over and call us NGE* lovers and other lovely terms for a few minutes. One went so far as to act like he was going to grab his gun from the gun rack. Florida has great weather, and Delray can be a nice city, but I really don't miss it one little bit. For those new here, he's not being charged under the newest law regarding the defacing of memorials and statues which the FL governor signed into law. It is doubtful that the mural would meet the definition in 806.135(1), which is used in that law and states. House Amendment Bill No. CS/HB1, 2021, Amendment number 580,221 approved for filing, March 19, 2021, 3:01 and 20 seconds p.m. Page 3 of 4, b. Memorial means a plaque, statue, marker, flag, 37 banner, cenotaph, religious symbol, painting, seal, tombstone, 38 structure name or display that is constructed and located with 39 the intent of being permanently displayed or perpetually 40 maintained, is dedicated to a historical person, an entity, and 41 event or a series of events, and honors or recounts the 42 military service of any past or present United States Armed 43 Forces military personnel, or the past or present public service 44 of a resident of the geographical area comprising the state or 45 the United States. This was a temporary mural. He is being charged with 2 misdemeanors and Florida's hate crime law, which can be found here. Because this idiot absolutely showed evidence of prejudice when committing his misdemeanors. Hate crime makes the misdemeanors felonies. I know this is not a very popular thing to say, but it really disappoints me that the overwhelming majority of the top comments here are about what he looks like, not what he's done. I had assumed that the people who share my worldviews were the kind who would judge a person by the content of their character rather than what they look like. Or rather, use the deficiency of character to about every negative hateful thing you have to say about his appearance. I mean, what if we have somebody in our lives who also looks like this, but is a good person? Do we still think these things about them, but don't say it? Because they don't deserve to have their appearance mocked? It doesn't sound like principles. It sounds like an excuse to hate on something that doesn't deserve to be hated on, appearance. The same way this guy uses his excuses to hate on something that doesn't deserve to be hated on. I don't know, maybe as a species we're just not capable. I'm not aiming for the lowest hanging fruit when attacking an enemy. I live where this happened. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting at a bar less than 2 blocks from the mural as I'm typing this. There's a fresh set of tire marks across it as of this afternoon. I hope they convict this guy of something, but I'm skeptical that the felony charge sticks. The guy is an annoying moron, and so are his friends, and I'd love to see him jailed so I don't have to listen to them blow their horns while they're riding around the entertainment district trying to instigate shit, but I just don't see it happening. That said, I question using tax dollars to put a relatively expensive mural like this on the road where it's such an easy target and requires so much upkeep. There were more sensible, and visible, places in the vicinity where it would have been better protected. Edit: it seems that the money was donated for the mural, and wasn't actual tax dollars. Yes. It's called power braking. The front brakes are stronger than the back brakes so the rear wheels will break loose while the front stay locked. If the vehicle has enough torque and slash or the back of the vehicle is light enough, or the tires are worn enough, you can spin the tires just by mashing the gas pedal. You can accomplish this in a front-wheel drive vehicle as well by engaging the emergency brake. This acts as a line lock because only the back wheels lock with the emergency brake. Even then though, it's likely the front wheels will hook and the back wheels will drag. Brought to you from the diary of a former hooligan. There are still churches that practice conversion therapy that operate within America where LGBT people are held against their free will to be abused and tortured, and apparently that's completely fine, since it's still legal. But a guy making a few skid marks on a crossing is the hill that everyone wants to die on? Don't get me wrong, this guy deserves to be punished, but this whole situation just comes across as a classic case of tokenism. Stop showing his face and making this asshat into a martyr for the other alt-right dickheads. It's a very easy process to buff the rubber off the mural or to repaint it. If you actually give a shit about LGBT people, then federally ban conversion therapy. It's astonishing. Living in the South, all my life I've had to listen about how Democrats want to destroy the country because they're evil and running a shadow government. Q is nothing new in terms of rampant paranoia and tribalism. When Obama was elected president, the day after was unfortunately only a little shocking. Other high schoolers were talking about how badly they wanted him assassinated. You better believe their parents and family friends were saying the same thing. Think about it like this: they truly believe the country is going to be taken over or literally destroyed. Trump comes along and perfectly embodies everything they believe in, and they want to believe he'll save the country from this evil plan, be it New World Order, China debt enslavement/annex states as payment, pedo-Satan cult, or many, many more. Trump's election gave them the same relief you got when Biden won. Obama stressed them out as much as Trump stressed you out, but for them Trump was such a perfect avatar of their beliefs, and corporate America, which is why he was given so much screen time, that it seemed like divine intervention to them. Imagine how you would have felt if it was your ideal candidate vs the absolute monstrosity of Donald Trump and your candidate won. You might have ended up coasting on that emotional win for the next 4 years, then the alt-right decided to perpetrate the big lie so they can hound their trembling sheep into the pen next election. Sorry, this turned into a rant. Obama stressed them out like Trump stressed you out. Trump's election was as much a relief to them as Biden's election was to you, and more, it was deus ex machina. $16,000 is not a lot in my mind. Special thermoplastic paint must be used that can withstand traffic, heat, etc. The city's public work department is likely to have a large amount of experience with a wide array of brands, and chose a product that their public works department has had good experience with. Then you've gotta pay the employees/pay for specialized equipment. Then you've gotta the design artist fee. A lot goes into it. It's all perspective. $16K isn't a lot when we're talking road work. You couldn't even buy a decent used Subaru for $16,000, but you could paint a whole damn rainbow road. Sounds like a bargain to me. He is facing charges of criminal mischief, reckless driving, and evidence of prejudice, which elevates the crime to a third-degree felony. What part of this is he not guilty of? If that's a third-degree felony, then he deserves to be charged with a third-degree felony. He was heard shouting "Tear up that gay intersection." It was a targeted hate crime. The desire to stop overcharging people is directed more at minor drug offenses like possession, not so much hate crimes. You're definitely on the wrong side of this one. Sure. The paint itself is not inexpensive, it is rated for durability to weather, UV rays, traffic, and is also the proper texture to ensure a safe as possible road surface for cars in all conditions. The paint is expensive paint, and they use a fair bit. Then you have the police detail required when they shut down the road to paint on it. They make an insane amount of money to look at their phones for a few hours while the actual painters work. The painters themselves are receiving fine paychecks as well, especially considering the hazard pay associated with working in active roadways. Administrative costs are real as well, because now the city has to pay to schedule and organize this repair job on short notice, and that likely adds to the cost. And, it's the government, there's mounds of red tape and unnecessary expenses rolled in there. $16,000 honestly seems kinda low. I'm sure he has the money though, looks like he has a good job and excellent judgment. Some assholes did this last year, during the heat of all the protests, in the city I live, where they painted a huge rainbow down one of the streets. They left about 200 feet of tire marks going down the middle of the rainbow in a wave pattern. I drove by there the other night and someone had gone through and painted all of the individual tire marks using rainbow-colored paint, and it looks like it was just a design that was meant to be there now. It's amazing. I never understood the ignorance of some people that they feel like they have to go out of their way to ruin something that doesn't affect them whatsoever. 2016 Florida Statutes Title XLVI, Crimes Chapter 775, Definitions, General Penalties, Registration of Criminals 775.085, Evidencing Prejudice while Committing Offense, Reclassification. Universal Citation, FL Stat 775.085, 2016, 775.085 Evidencing Prejudice while Committing Offense, Reclassification. 1. A. The penalty for any felony or misdemeanor shall be reclassified as provided in this subsection if the commission of such felony or misdemeanor evidences prejudice based on the race, color, ancestry, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, national origin, homeless status, or advanced age of the victim. 1. A misdemeanor of the second degree is reclassified to a misdemeanor of the first degree. 2. A misdemeanor of the first degree is reclassified to a felony of the third degree. Yup, it's a felony. It's the same as burning a cross in a black family's yard. Destroying property just because you don't like the people it supports is a hate crime. And you should get hit with the book for it. Punish them hard and set a fucking example that this bigot shit is not okay, and we are fucking tired of people and the fucking hate. It's pretty fucking easy to mind your own fucking business and go about your life. But too many adults have never learned to use critical thinking and still think they are the center of the universe, and if you think differently than them you're less the human. It fucking makes me sick how people still have issues because someone is different. Technically it is a felony because he's being charged with it. But I do believe egregious attempts to damage public property should be punished strongly. As others pointed out, it was $16,000. It wasn't an accidental tire mark from a hard stop, he did it on purpose on video. However, I wouldn't call it a hate crime as others have referred to it, because I feel that should be reserved for targeted crimes against people, not property. I feel like that cheapens the charge. Evidence of prejudice is important in distinguishing between stupid vandalism like name tags and other graffiti versus targeted hate speech like drawing pigs on a mosque, or burning rubber over a pride mural. Petty vandalism is destructive of public or private property and is its own type of unique crime, with dedicated resources to track and catch prolific taggers. Something like this is very different. And I agree with you about the alarming Orwellian vibes, but I think context is important in determining the appropriate route to justice. In my opinion, the hateful nature of this vandalism makes it much more concerning because it shows a deliberate attempt to antagonize a particular group, which most vandalism is not. The punishment does not fit the crime. It's a dick move, but not something that warrants ruining a life over. Edit. Yikes guys, I get it. Trump fan and homophobe bad, I don't disagree. Don't direct your hatred toward the guy at me. Some of the mail I am getting for having a different opinion is extreme, and no, I am not deleting my post because you think the guy needs to rot in prison. No one was hurt, and the LGBTQ and community is stronger than needing to ruin someone's life for defacing a state-sponsored display of support. I think that just like in every situation in life, context is everything. I agree that we need to step back before jumping on every little thing. However, I don't agree that accidentally marking up a mural on a random day due to a variety of situations without anything going on etc. is not the same thing as purposefully doing it during a very clearly political protest that prides itself in hating the subject of the mural. While I can't say if he deserves a third-degree felony, he certainly deserves more than a slap on the wrist. So my best advice to you is that you should also step back and take a look at the context of a situation. Context is king. Even if you weren't hilariously wrong, let's compare the reasons for the two things you mentioned. In the example you brought up, the source was anger and exhaustion over police constantly overstepping their bounds and literally killing people without just cause. On the other end, we have this guy who popped a blood vessel over a fucking crosswalk celebrating the progress that LGBTQ people have made in recent years. If you can't see the difference between those two, then please stay down in your parents' basement where you obviously reside. Yeah, I don't get why they brought Trump into this. The lil caravan parade of Trump supporters he was with doesn't prove anything. I mean, he has a big Trump flag on the back of the truck too. But that probably is just a coincidence. I bet this upstanding guy shares no beliefs that line up with Trump or his supporters. I mean, yeah, one of them did shout that he should do it, but probably by accident. /s. That's not justice. Even if you don't agree with his views, he was simply expressing them. His skid marks can be painted over. No one was hurt. I actually find evidence of prejudice to be an insane law to be on the books. It's almost hilarious that an American government would criminalize opinions that were once codified. Yet prejudice is illegal for Floridians to express. I guess Indian reservations make up for all that prejudice and murder from that gave Florida to America. If that person had a permit from the city to paint a cross or policeman or Jesus himself, then this behavior would be just as reprehensible. We both know what the redneck was doing. It's not hard to be a good person. You can still use a rainbow, they don't own it. XD, you say this country has produced idiots, but honestly maybe we stopped making them. If someone wanted to paint a picture of a cross/American flag/police flag and went through the process to get it approved by city officials, yes, they'd be allowed. Anyone that then drove recklessly to then deface it should also get charged. I agree with you that the man in the pickup truck is so entitled as to think he and his posse are the only ones who are right, that he intended to get away with it without the responsibility of repercussion. As to the symbol, in this case it represents the loss of 49 American lives to someone violently opposed to the freedoms this country represents. The streetscape mural was approved in December 2020 by city officials at a cost of $16,720, according to the Public Works Department. It was dedicated to the 49 lives lost in the Pulse nightclub shootings 5 years ago. Dude. You cannot use freedom of speech as an excuse to hate on minorities. Of course freedom of speech is fine, but there's a certain limit to what you should be able to say. If you go up to a random black man, shout the N-word at him, and then get sued, you cannot shout 1984 because you just shouldn't be racist in the first place. Same thing with this. It's not freedom of speech, it's vandalism and hate speech. Hate speech is not equal to freedom of speech.